So, the eye of the tiger can be any really big challenge that you overcome in order to reach a goal, or a really big challenge that you overcome in order to reach your potential. So what's your potential, and what's your plan? My name is Robin. I'm on the Alpine Team, coaching this week. And for the next hour, we're going to talk about what you can do to reach your potential, and what responsibility you can take to get there. First, we're going to start out watching a bit of a video, lasts a few minutes. But please, during this presentation, feel free to interject, ask questions, make comments, tell stories, get up and dance. Rebecca, that was awesome. Here we go. We're going to watch a video. Give me some feedback about volume in the back of the room, if you would. You're inspired, feel free to do the hot bed as well.
This kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew.
I'm gonna show you how great I am. Don't ever let somebody tell you that you can't do something. You got a dream, you gotta protect it. People can't do something themselves. They wanna tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight.
That's right. I have wrestled with an alligator. I have tussled with a whale. I have handcuffed lightning, go thunder and jail. That's bad. Only last week, I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick. Fast. Last night I cut the light off my bedroom, hit the switch, was in the bed before the room was dark. Fast. You, George Foreman, all of you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him. All of you, I know you got him. I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now. Believe me. And we can stay here, get the kicked out of us. Or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time.
For a long time now, you've been hearing me talk about being perfect. Well, I want you to understand something. To me, being perfect is not about that scoreboard out there. It's not about winning. It's about you and your relationship to yourself and your family and your friends. Being perfect is about being able to look your friends in the eye and know that you didn't let them down because you told them the truth. And that truth is that you did everything that you could there wasn't one more thing that you could have done. Can you live in that moment as best you can with clear eyes and love in your heart? With joy in your heart. If you can do that, gentlemen, then you're perfect.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
I will show you how great I am.
I firmly believe that any man's finest hour, the greatest fulfillment of all that he holds dear, is that moment when he has worked his heart out in a good cause and lies exhausted on the field of battle, victorious.
I'm going to leave it at that. Cool video, right? Every time I watch that, I get heart rate goes up and I get excited. But my favorite line from that whole movie, and apparently it's some of yours too, because I heard a lot of people and saw a lot of grins, was when Muhammad Ali said, "I'm so fast. Last night I shut the light off in the bedroom. I hit the switch and was in the bed before the room got dark. I'll show you how great I am." Powerful, right? So whether it be a new certification, a better short term, a fuller, deeper understanding of something, or perhaps a better way to express yourselves to your students, we all have goals. We all work really hard to achieve those. So it's my hopes that you take some of the ideas and inspirations from this video, from my presentation tonight, and especially from your week here at the National Academy, and bring that into your training for this summer and your future season's preparations. So this model, the United States oh, can you hear me?
No.
Sorry. Keep me on that, gang. I hope you like that video, and I hope it's motivating, and you take that into the summer, for those of you that didn't hear me. I apologize for that. So this model, the United States presented to our European counterparts nearly 2 years ago now at Interski in Ushuaia, Argentina. Anybody seen it before? Local ski schools, PSIA events, right? Essentially, we identified 3 areas to become a great instructor, 3 areas for development to become a great instructor. Technical skills, people skills, and teaching skills, right? So technical skills being what we were probably working on out on the hill today. Can you carve on demand, skid on demand? How do you move into your turn? That sort of stuff. Teaching skills being, how do you create a learning partnership so that your students leave their time with you having gained skills and confidence. People skills, how do you create a learning partnership so that you create a good trusting relationship and really connect with your students, right? So this model identifies 3 ways that we can become really great instructors for our students. So many of our models, topics, concepts, theories, we tend to consider and implement with respect to how we, the instructors or the teachers, interact with them, the students. But how do we become great learners for ourselves? How do we develop in these areas, and how do we take responsibility so that we're always concerned with our own growth and our development? For today, I want you first and foremost to think about your own development. Long-term instructor development. If I can model and become a great learner for myself, I'm going to be way more authentic in creating a teaching situation or a learning situation for my students. Agree with that? Right? So again, for this presentation, I want you to think about you first, your development, and your responsibility in it. Student-centered. We're really good at this in the United States. PSIA-AASI, we're really good at creating student-centered environments. Can anybody throw out any, when you think about student-centered learning or student-centered teaching, what comes to mind?
Listening. Asking them questions about themselves.
Asking your students questions about yourselves?
Student goals.
What the students' goals are? Awesome. What else? Excuse me?
Motivations, understanding movements, like that.
Okay, how they understand movements. What else? Come on, you guys over here.
Focusing on their learning styles.
Focusing on their learning styles, right? Making sure that at the end of the day, our teaching scenario for them addresses their needs, their goals, their value system, right? So my question to you is that student-instructor relationship necessarily the same as an instructor-trainer relationship or an instructor-coach relationship? Have we potentially taken that a little bit too far? And learning in a training situation, when is it okay for a coach just to say, here's what I want you to do without taking the time to explain how you should do that? Was anybody out there, any coaches or any of us trainees out there today, and a coach just said, hey, let's try on this pitch with this manky snow to create a little bit less pressure on our skis? Or did anybody say anything like, let's try to make sure we release both edges at the same time without going through a progression of exactly how to do that? That you want to make sure you roll your ankles this way, your knees this way. Any of that happen out there today? Okay, is that okay sometimes to have a little bit more, especially with us, a little bit more what, and let us struggle a little bit more with the how? Right? So if I'm at home in my home mountain at Heavenly in Lake Tahoe, and I get a lesson with a student, whether it be for an hour or a week, I think it's my obligation as a ski teacher to make sure he feels pretty good at the end of his time with me. Right? That he feels accomplished, he feels like he's gained something. But is it okay if I'm at home doing a training clinic with fellow instructors or here this week, if we don't get it necessarily by the end of the day or by the end of our time together? Is it okay that there's a little bit of searching going on there? What do you guys think? It's okay, right? Maybe even a little bit of frustration. And then if that instructor leaves a clinic with a little bit of questions going, boy, I didn't quite own that, and they start questioning it and pondering it, and maybe they're in the supermarket that night and they're pushing their cart down, finding food for dinner, and they're reflecting on kind of maybe a little bit of a struggle that they had, and they think, geez, I might need a six-pack of beer for this. Stick it in their cart, right? And then they keep going down the grocery aisle, and later on in the store, they find themselves with their butt stuck against the soup cans, right? Playing with movements and playing with what worked and what didn't work, and they're playing with how they could move into a turn, right? Arguably, that stuff, that pondering, that thinking, is gonna start the learning process. Can you guys read that back there? Zoe, can you read that back there? Thanks, kid. So do we go away from our training clinics, training sessions, and learn things? Again, a lot of that learning takes place when we start spider webbing, when we start questioning, when we start reflecting. Just ask Spike, right? There's a pretty big difference between learning, being taught something, and learning something. If anybody's ever been in a clinic with me, and certainly today you guys heard this, one of the things I really like to do is, in summarizing a lesson, remind everybody to spend some time reflecting and pondering and starting to think about what worked and what didn't work. Anybody today, what's the cue I used? When do you want to do that? When you're brushing your teeth at night, right? You finish a lesson, you've been pondering what you've been doing today, getting ready for bed, your time to brush your teeth, right? Start to cue into that, what worked for you, what didn't work. What do you want to take into tomorrow? How did that feel to you? What does it have to do with what you value about skiing, right? Having a very specific cue for some reflection time is really valuable. Again, difference between being taught something and learning something. Pete showed us a video or a picture yesterday too of the guy with the sunburn, remember that? Right, so obviously Mother Nature or the sun taught him that you should wear sunscreen, but he didn't really learn it, right? Just like Stripe not whistling. So coaching versus instructing. Anybody want to throw out some ideas about what are some differences or similarities? Instruction, what do you think of instruction? Is it more open-ended or is it more linear? Didactic,
Didactic.
right?
Didactic and linear.
Didactic and linear. What else? Come on, you guys.
Saying coaching is more telling them and advising and saying this was a good thing and giving encouragement.
Okay, coaching, you're advising and encouraging.
You're not necessarily doing that.
Okay, with instruction, you're not necessarily doing that. What else? What are some things?
Coaching is interactive.
Coaching is interactive. Okay?
I thought that all of those were.
Instruction can be interactive.
Coaching, you might be working with a person who already is an enthusiast of that activity, and instructing, they might be brand new to it.
Okay, coaching might be somebody that's an enthusiast versus instructing is maybe newer people to it, right? Anybody else want to add anything to that before I show you my list?
I think of instructing as like you're telling them you need to do A and then B and then C. You're the instructor and they're listening and they're doing what you tell them. And in coaching, it's more like they do something and then you say you were in the back seat, try and keep your hips forward, or they're the people that are originating as opposed to you are the originator.
Okay, do you guys hear that? In instructing, the instructor is more saying, I want you to do A, B, and C, whereas in the coaching environment, maybe the student does something and then the instructor says, here's what you did, maybe try this. Did I say that okay, more or less?
I think coaching is more student-centered and instructing is more teacher-centered.
Okay. Coaching more
Student-centered.
student-centered and instructing more instructor-centered. So here's the list that I came up with. Not so different than what you guys were just saying. Right, one's more about a method, one more about a process. One's definitely geared more towards creating independence on the side of the learner. One's a little bit more about self-discovery. Right? Looking at those two lists, do you look at one and think that one's more about compliance and the other one maybe is a little bit more about engagement? Which one would you say is more compliance? Right? And certainly in both of those lists, the learning partnership has to, by design, be interwoven amongst that, right? And sometimes we're going to go for more instructor approach, sometimes a more coaching approach, but as far as putting responsibility on us as instructors, us as the learners, which column do you see being more valuable there? Which is going to put more onus on the instructor being the learner?
Coaching.
The coaching one, right? Absolutely. So we could all probably take a moment here to thank teachers that we've had in the past that have nudged us in a certain direction to allow us to discover the things that we needed to discover, right? Have you ever had one of those moments out on the hill where you had this eureka moment? I finally got it. I figured this out. After all these years, I figured it out for myself. Only later to reflect on that, to realize that there's really been teachers and coaches prior to that that set you on a path and paved the way for you to later on figure it out on your own. Anybody had one of those experiences? Those are the best, right? So we're going to watch another video here for a few minutes. It's another guy with he's peeing in the room, another cute British accent. That was why he called it the other day. And this video is about golf and kind of exhibiting the difference between an instruction environment and a coaching environment. Volume back there?
Line up down the floor, yeah, so you can
Ask, don't tell. Simple as it sounds, that's the message. To illustrate it, John is going to allow one accomplished golfer in the group to take a volunteer and tell them how to hit the ball, while John himself attempts to get another novice swinging effectively by doing nothing more than asking questions.
Take a swing at a couple of them.
Now, first of all, your feet should be roughly shoulders apart. Okay? So just stand like that. Yes, but that foot actually...
Just imagine yourself trying to cope with all the instructions Lindsay is about to receive.
You've got to grip the club. Or hold your hands open like that. Okay? And put your fingers over the golf club so the thumbs are in line with the arms. And get your arms straight. Now, move your hands down the club. And the small finger at the back, can you just look it over like that? Okay, now, now that finger's supposed to be in line with your arm. So put that over like that. So back. No, just come like this. So you're in line. Okay? Now what I'd like you to do is just swing at that ball. And then we'll take it from there. Go on, swing.
Meanwhile, instead of telling Mandy, John coaches her by just asking her questions.
Find out what you notice when you're swinging the ball, where you're paying attention, what you're looking at, what you're feeling, anything that you notice when you go ahead and do this, yeah? Okay?
Wants to hit the ball.
Okay, so you're
more is concentrating on the ball.
you're concentrating on seeing the ball?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Weigh up for yourself the advantages and disadvantages of these contrasting coaching techniques. The two key things John's trying to achieve with his questions are raising awareness and generating responsibility.
Just tell me what part of your body feels more awkward than the rest. You might want to divide yourself in two and start off by saying, well, arms and shoulders. Let's see how that feels this time. Then next time we'll check out the lower. So just tell me what's going on this time.
It doesn't feel sort of very fluid.
Doesn't feel very fluid. Okay. It feels you're making an effort. So you would like to hit the ball in a fluid way, is that right? Okay. So let's make a fluidness scale, all right? The 10 is very fluid and 0 is very awkward. All right? Let's just tell me where this is on that scale. Just hit this one, tell me where it is on the scale. About 5, okay?
Now keep that side, imagine that side being against the wall. So keep it straight, and if you're swinging back and hit, remembering that side is flat against the wall. Okay? Right, now, just go back a bit. Your shoulders need to be straight. You've got one shoulder down like that, okay? So can you keep both shoulders still, and your head down looking at the ball? Okay? Now, can you also bend your knees a bit?
What else would you like to do? What would be the next step for you? Is there some other area of discomfort, or would you like to add in something? Next step for improvement for you. If you wanted something else in your golf, what would it be?
I'd like to do one of those nice sort of high ones.
You'd like to hit it high? Okay, let's come back to our scale again. Let's just make a scale so we know what we're working with. Hit one and then tell me where that is on your power scale with 10 high. Okay.
It's more like it.
By the time this session finished, Mandy and Lindsay were both hitting the ball much better than when they started. But Mandy had reached her success through a process in her control, which she shaped, and most importantly, which she now owns. Because she made her own discoveries, the experience had a big impact on her. You can almost feel the pleasure she gets from acquiring a new skill.
Go ahead.
Done it, haven't you? I can't believe this. Well done.
You looked as if you really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did. It was absolutely amazing. I can't believe that he could make me even hit the ball properly, let alone do anything else. It was incredible.
Did he make you do it?
No, he didn't. No.
Who was doing it?
He. Yeah.
Was he telling you how to do it?
No, not at all. He didn't tell me how to do it at all. He just made me more aware of what I was actually doing. It's incredible.
So that is certainly ends of the spectrum. that is certainly ends of the spectrum between coaching and instructing. And in reality, whether we're in a clinic environment or an instructor-student environment, we do a little bit of both, yeah? But wasn't that coach in the red shirt brilliant at figuring out what his student valued and creating responsibility and autonomy with her? Right? So what are some of the questions that the instructor asked his student? Anybody remember? Or what are some of the things that he said to her?
How does it feel?
The instructor, the guy with the white shirt, sorry. The white shirt and the guy with the white shirt.
He didn't really ask questions.
No, he just directed.
Right? What did he say to the guy? Anybody remember?
Do this, do that.
Right? Compliant or engaging?
Compliant.
Compliant, right? There was a kind of a right and a wrong way of doing that. How about the coach in the red shirt with the woman? What were some of the things he said to her? On a scale of 1 to 10. How did it feel? What would you like to do with your golf game, right? What about with respect to skiing? Instruction or coaching? I want you to keep your hands out wide and at waist level. More instruction, more compliant, right? How about looking at this terrain right here? Would you like to skid your skis or carve your skis?
Coaching.
Coaching.
How about, I want you to keep all your weight on your outside ski.
Compliant.
Compliant.
How about, what kind of a speed would you like to maintain on this run?
Coaching.
Coaching.
Coaching, engaging, right? How about, were you happy with the way that you did that?
Coaching.
Coaching.
Coaching, right? So remember those. And everybody stand up for me for a second.
Compliant.
That was definitely instruction. I want to see it. Come on. Rebecca, I know you have this. Michael, I know you can dance. Mike Porter, I want to see it big. Go back there. Okay, grab a partner. Grab a partner. Okay, I'm going to turn the music back on. One of you are the student, one of you are the teacher. Okay?
Not getting on the table.
In an instruction realm, so more compliant based, right? I want you to teach your student how to do the YMCA. All right? Okay? You're going to have 30 seconds to teach your student how to go for the YMCA. Go for it, gang. 30 seconds. But this time I want you to coach your student into doing the YMCA. All right, one was engaging, one was compliant, one was kind of dependent, one was independent, right? One was asking questions, one was saying, you better do it this way. All right, 30 seconds, let her rip.
didn't follow your directions to begin with.
You did not follow my directions to begin with. Why is that?
Stand for a second. We stood much longer than that.
No, you only stood for a second and then you danced the rest of the time. Come on, man.
Yeah, come on, Spike! Spike, let it out!
She sat down.
That was their choice.
Anybody want to share?
I'm going to challenge you.
Okay.
I think it depends on the student and the way the student learns.
Absolutely.
And I personally love instruction, and then I love coaching. So there is a first step for me as I'm learning something new, and then there's a second step for me in the ownership part where when I'm asked questions, I participate more fully because I had the beginning part as my foundation.
Okay.
There.
I agree.
There. What's the problem?
Yeah, but
Go ahead, Rebecca.
I think it also depends on the situation. There are times when safety is an issue and you just really have to say, do this, because that's what's going to keep you safe or, on track. And there are times when you could really dialogue and say, okay, how does this feel? How does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I promise, I'm not saying you have to do one or you have to do the other and one is right and one is wrong. Absolutely not. But as instructors and as people that are responsible for our development, we should be willing to enter in that coaching environment sometimes. Right? And again, not saying one's right, one's wrong, but playing with. So what did it feel like when you were being instructed then?
It was more dry.
It was more dry,
I
okay.
felt like the coaching was a lot more playful.
So were you the coach or the
I was
student?
a student.
And what was some of the things that your coach said to you that was?
Well, it was just like, do this.
Uh-huh.
Now do this. Now do this. And so, I don't know, it's just kind of like you're just standing there, just moving, But then the coaching was more just like, I don't know.
Okay, so for you it was a little bit more engaging and interactive and you liked it?
Fun, yeah.
Okay, and for you preferred the instruction? It was
No, I
linear.
said both.
Okay.
But one precedes the other for me.
Okay, awesome.
Well, I had the whole thing wrong. I've had it wrong for 25 years, and now that dates me, I know, but I thought you went
Who says that's wrong?
I've done that at every wedding. And I'm a teacher, so I go to middle school dances like 3 times a year. That's how I do it every time. And my husband, luckily, thank you, said, that's not how you do it. So I needed instruction because I was going, YMCA. He's like, that's wrong. So sometimes, and it was wrong. So
Exactly. But what's to say that it's wrong? Did you make it out?
I thought I was, but everybody. So, but I think for like skiing, when I do something wrong, if I think I'm doing it right, I need someone to say, this is how you do it, and let's practice it a little, as opposed to the coach. I'm sort of like.
Okay, awesome. Mike?
I think you kind of have to gauge it too, because
Thank you.
you have to give the instruction to begin with and tell them what you'd like them to do. And then as soon as they start doing it, then you need to get into the coaching and encourage them as much as you can. Anytime you see something that's even close to what you want to say, yeah, it's more like this. Push them. You're going to have to gauge the student because some need more teaching.
Yep.
And not as much coaching. Some need just a tiny bit of coaching, teaching, and then a huge amount of coaching.
Okay. And again, I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but it's Christina. Okay, it's Christina. I'm just gonna, and I accept that challenge, but I'm gonna throw it right back at you and say, are you willing to struggle to learn things? And you don't need to answer that, but sometimes we need instruction, sometimes we need coaching, right? But when you need the instruction is because you're not willing to struggle enough to find the answer. And I'm not saying that you are or not, trust me, I'm not, but just, I will throw that question back at you guys, okay?
Don't you think good coaches provide instruction as well?
Yes.
That's where I guess that's where I not following, because I feel like instruction is one thing, but a good coach takes instruction, feedback, and then interaction, and that's what makes a good coach, right? So
100% agree. And we do both when we're in clinics and when we're teaching. But being able to recognize both of them and being able to recognize when one might be a little bit longer process to have a really long, fulfilling, autonomous outcome. Neither's right nor wrong. The only absolute in ski teaching is there's absolutely no absolutes, right? Go for it, Chris.
I'm just curious your thoughts on the why part. So that's maybe the journalist to me, the who, what, when, where, why, and how. But when we talk about the how, and thinking about that as an instruction, for me, where my mind goes is more like when you're a coach, when you're like Bill Belichick of a team, you're not going to necessarily tell people why. You're going to tell them like how and give them lots of instruction. There's going to be a two-way learning contract with it. Whereas instruction, like when we're engaging with guests, that the why is extremely important. That's the motivation part. So I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
Can you guys, I could have paid you to set me up for that. That's awesome.
I was hoping so.
Go give them a bar.
Yeah.
So,
Just one beer.
Yeah, one beer.
That's all it is, though.
did you guys all hear that? That
Oh, yeah.
For Chris, the why is super important too. In addition to the how and the what, at certain times, needs to know the why. I agree with that 100%, and I think that can come in either of those scenarios, whether it be an instruction scenario or a coaching scenario. But Chris, according to my mom, I've never outgrown the phase that many small kids have of always asking why. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? Why do I do this? Why is it that way instead of this way? Which is probably why the next part of this really resonates with me, which is critical thinking. So there's actually an organization in the United States who's dedicated to studying and promoting critical thinking in education. Can anybody read this out loud for me?
The intellectually disciplined process of actively, skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and/or evaluating information gathered from observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to belief and action.
Clears it all up, right? Thank you. Who was that read that? Hey, thank you. Okay, so certainly not incorrect, but really overly complicated, right? Right? So for the purposes of skiing and teaching skiing, I want us to be able to think, to watch, to do, to question, and to explore in order to form an opinion about something. And in this case, thinking isn't necessarily about what's your polygon of sustentation or what's happening with your moment of inertia, right? Hopefully the thinking in this case is thinking about a sensation that you had, or thinking about an image that you've seen that you'd like to try to emulate. Exploring could be something like you're in a clinic and you're this close to getting something. Like you're really starting to feel like you're getting it, you're figuring it out, and what you really need is to go take a couple of runs on your own and then come back into the clinic. Versus if you stay there and the pace of the clinic changes a little bit, or the focus just gets tweaked a little bit, being willing to go, no, I'm going to go explore this for a little bit and then come back and check in and make sure I'm on the right page. Just being willing to expose yourself to those things. In contrast to, let's read that. In contrast to wanting to be told what's good, right? Or believing everything that you hear without questioning it, or not taking the time to come up with your own personal beliefs and opinions about things. Okay, so we have talked about student-centered a little bit. We talked about differences between instructing and coaching. We talked about critical thinking briefly. Now we're going to talk about feedback a little bit. How do we get the feedback from ourselves that we want or need? We can get feedback from our skis, right? Whether we look at the tracks, we listen to what they sound like, we feel what's going on, right? Our feelings, not our emotional feelings necessarily, or that may into the equation, but what we're feeling our skis doing, what we're feeling our bodies doing. We can watch video, we can do drills. Anything else to add to that about how you get feedback out on your own without a coaching environment or instructing environment?
Sound.
Positive and negative reinforcement. You go, Chris, yeah, you nailed that.
Level of fatigue.
Yep, awesome.
Level of fatigue.
Level of fatigue, awesome, right? What you're feeling, the fatigue you're feeling. Cool. So these are the easy ways to get feedback. I have a friend that signed up for a PSIA clinic a couple of years ago, and I was super excited because it's somebody that I like a lot and think he's great in the industry, and hadn't taken a PSIA clinic in a long time. So he signed up for a clinic in Squaw Valley. It was a 2-day clinic with some pretty stellar coaches, and I was so excited that he was taking it that about 4:05 on the second day, it was a 2-day clinic, I called him like, hey, how was the clinic? Was it fantastic? And he goes, it was just okay. I'm like, okay, you're at Squaw Valley. The skiing was amazing. I knew your 2 coaches, they're pretty amazing. You know what? Why wasn't it amazing? And he said, well, the skiing was fantastic, the snow was great. Those 2 coaches, they just rip, man, they're so fun to watch. But I didn't get any feedback. And so I said, wow, you didn't get any feedback. Did you know, were there conversations about skiing during the couple of days? He's like, yeah, lots of it. Did you do any drills? Yeah, we did some drills. Were they easy? Were they hard? Well, they started out kind of hard, but I figured it out. Why are you laughing?
He just got his own feedback.
Yeah.
Because there was some feedback there, right? Clearly. Yeah. But there wasn't feedback that they said, hey, John, here's what I saw, here's what I want you to do. But there was a lot of feedback, right? And I'm not judging should those coaches have given more feedback at that time or not, but the truth was there was a fair amount of feedback, right? So those are the easy ways to get feedback. The harder ways are to ask for it. Right? And in the case of my friend, right, and again, maybe those coaches should have been a little bit more forthcoming with individual feedback. I don't know, I wasn't there. But in the end of the day, I think it was my friend's responsibility, if he wanted that, to ask for it. Right? So here are some ways, if we do want to ask for feedback from our coaches, here are some things to keep in mind. Be specific. Right? So in other words, hey coach, I'm working on these steeps here, making a short turn where I maintain the same speed for the whole run versus accelerating a little bit for each turn. Right? So could you give me feedback on that? Give time. The more time you give for your coach to give you feedback, the more thorough it's going to be. So like first day of the clinic, hey, I'm working on really being able to shape the top of my turn into the fall line. So could you watch me over the course of the week and see how I'm doing on that? Because then you're going to get your trend, right, your tendencies versus that one run of feedback. Mm-hmm. You start. You want it? You start it. Right? Start that conversation asking your coach for feedback. Open-ended questions. Hey coach, how was my run? Good. Right? Dave Line, are you in this group? When somebody says, Dale, you here? Yep. What do I say when somebody says something was good? I always ask why it was good. That's almost worse to me than saying it was bad. Because what was good about it, right? So if I ask my coach an open-ended question like, so I feel like when I'm skiing in the bump, sometimes I lose control. Do you have any idea of what I could do to have better performance in the bumps? And then I have an open dialogue instead of, was that run good or was that run bad? Thanks, Dale. Be future-oriented. What you did, right? But what can I do to improve that for the future? What I did last run, yesterday, last week, last season, that's over. What can I do to make it better in the future? And then be ready. Who just left? Be ready, right? Why'd you laugh, DL? What? You might get the truth, right?
You might not
right?
Yeah, you might not be ready to hear what you need to change.
Right.
Because you thought you already changed it.
Right, but if you're asking for that feedback and you want that candid feedback, don't go, yeah, well, you know, my ski this, and just be ready and take that and process it, and then if you need to later, go back and have a further conversation with them, but be specific, just like the dog's owner there. We okay with that, gang? Self-coaching, super important, right? Did anybody do any of that today? Right, bunch of it. In order to be good self-coaches, we need to be able to set goals for ourselves. Everybody sort of SMART goals? They need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. There's a different version of those too, but just being able to set goals for ourselves and share those with a coach. Where I am, where I'm going, right? Your coach can't decide that for you. You have to decide that based on what you value in skiing or snowboarding, right? Just like in the case of the golfer, it was very appropriate to what she valued in skiing or what she valued in golfing and what she wanted to get out of it. Video, being able to watch video, super important in helping you decide where you are, right? There was a coach on the US ski team a few years ago named Seth McAdams. He was the coach of the women's development team. And he spent precious little time letting the gals that he was responsible for watch themselves skiing. The ones that were slalom specialists, they watched Michaela Schifrin. The ones that were speed specialists, watched Lindsey Vonn. Why do you think that is?
They're looking at excellence. Yeah.
Yeah, they're watching somebody do what they want to do versus watching images of what you're not trying to do. So watch the video, check out what you're doing, figure out where you are, where you need to go, and then the video of watching other people and what you're trying to aspire to can be super valuable. Exercises and drills to elicit desired movements. It's really easy to do something like a pivot slip and do it and wiggle your butt all over the place, right? So pick drills for self-coaching that you can't do if you can't do them correctly. An example of that, like skiing on a firm pitch, let's say, and doing one ski skiing and making a round skidded turn. That's a pretty difficult drill to do, right? So drills that you can either do or you can't do. Michaela Schifrin was quoted as saying that she doesn't do drills until she can do them right. She does them until she can't do them wrong, right? Really good self-coach. Become a feeler. There's so many of us that by default are more visual or more analytical in thinking, right? But at some level, to be a really good skier, snowboarder, athlete, instructor, we've got to be able to tune in to some degree to what we're feeling. Mental training, being able to visualize what you want to do, imagine what you want to do. Another story, another racing story, Peekaboo Street. My gal Peekaboo, there's Joe. Peekaboo Street was telling me one time that when she was training as a young athlete, that her coach used to have them go and inspect the course. Then all the athletes would go into a room, into the lodge, lie down, close their eyes, and the coach would say, racer ready, 3, 2, 1, go. And then they had to visualize their entire course and raise their hand when they went through the finish line. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but she was always within like hundredths of a second of her actual time. She was really good at being able to visualize what she was doing. And at our level of athletes too, being able to spend some quiet time at night over the summertime and visualize what it is that we're trying to achieve will pay huge dividends later on down the road. It's not easy, it takes practice, but really valuable. Anybody here do that regularly? Yeah. What was Yogi Berra's quote? 90% of it is half mental or something like that. And then self-coaching too, we gotta work hard. When that doesn't work, try a little hard work. Another video. Is that really loud?
Really loud.
When I was 27 years old, I left a very demanding job in management consulting for a job that was even more demanding, teaching. I went to teach 7th graders math in the New York City public schools. And like any teacher, I made quizzes and tests, I gave out homework assignments. When the work came back, I calculated grades. What struck me was that IQ was not the only difference between my best and my worst students. Some of my strongest performers did not have stratospheric IQ scores. Some of my smartest kids weren't doing so well. And that got me thinking. The kinds of things you need to learn in 7th grade math, sure, they're hard. Ratios, decimals, the area of a parallelogram. But these concepts are not impossible. And I was firmly convinced that every one of my students could learn the material if they worked hard and long enough. After several more years of teaching, I came to the conclusion that what we need in education is a much better understanding of students and learning from a motivational perspective, from a psychological perspective. In education, the one thing we know how to measure best is IQ. But what if doing well in school and in life depends on much more than your ability to learn quickly and easily? So I left the classroom and I went to graduate school to become a psychologist. I started studying kids and adults in all kinds of super challenging settings. And in every study, my question was, who is successful here and why? My research team and I went to West Point Military Academy. We tried to predict which cadets would stay in military training and which would drop out. We went to the National Spelling Bee and tried to predict which children would advance farthest in competition. We studied rookie teachers working in really tough neighborhoods, asking which teachers are still going to be here in teaching by the end of the school year. And of those, who will be the most effective at improving learning outcomes for their students? We partnered with private companies asking which of these salespeople is going to keep their jobs and who's going to earn the most money. In all those very different contexts, one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. A few years ago, I started studying grit in the Chicago public schools. I asked thousands of high school juniors to take grit questionnaires, and then waited around more than a year to see who would graduate. Turns out that grittier kids were significantly more likely to graduate, even when I matched them on every characteristic I could measure. Things like family income, standardized achievement test scores, even how safe kids felt when they were at school. So it's not just at West Point or the National Spelling Bee that grit matters, it's also in school, especially for kids at risk for dropping out. To me, the most shocking thing about grit is how little we know, how little science knows about building it. Every day, parents and teachers ask me, how do I build grit in kids? What do I do to teach kids a solid work ethic? How do I keep them motivated for the long run? The honest answer is, I don't know. What I do know is that talent doesn't make you gritty. Our data show very clearly that there are many talented individuals who simply do not follow through on their commitments. In fact, in our data, grit is usually unrelated or even inversely related to measures of talent. So far, the best idea I've heard about building grit in kids is something called growth mindset. This is an idea developed at Stanford University by Carol Dweck, and it is the belief that the ability to learn is not fixed, that it can change with your effort. Dr. Dweck has shown that when kids read and learn about the brain and how it changes and grows in response to challenge, they're much more likely to persevere when they fail because they don't believe that failure is a permanent condition. So growth mindset is a great idea for building grit, but we need more. And that's where I'm going to end my remarks, because that's where we are. That's the work that stands before us. We need to take our best ideas, our strongest intuitions, and we need to test them. We need to measure whether we've been successful, and we have to be willing to fail, to be wrong, to start over again with lessons learned. In other words, we need to be gritty about getting our kids grittier. Thank you.
Anybody seen that video before?
No.
Cool, right?
Ready?
So, she talked about passion and perseverance. Is there any of that in this room?
Microphone.
It's in my hand. So she talked about passion and perseverance. Is there any of that in this room?
Yeah.
A bunch, right?
Oh,
So this afternoon in the clinic that I was doing, I gave one of the gentlemen a little bit of feedback, and then the next one he came down and it was a pretty minuscule adjustment, and I said, that was completely different. What did you do? He said, well, I worked hard. It's very cool. He just had that mental fortitude to go, okay, here's what I need to do. I can do it. I'm just going to work hard. And the last part of this program about long-term instructor development are fitness considerations. In this room, we're all athletes. Whether we're recreational athletes or professional athletes, we're all athletes. What's important is that if we consider ourselves to be professional athletes, we can't train as recreational athletes and vice versa, right? And one of the things that as we're training to again, whether it's certifications, better short turns, that our fitness goals need to be commensurate, or I'm sorry, our skiing goals need to be commensurate with our fitness training. And this is just one little example. In fitness training, we can work on our strength, we can work on our endurance, we can work on our flexibility, right? Another thing is plyometrics. Plyometrics is when a muscle stretches and then contracts to create a little bit of an explosive movement, right? So just an example, plyometrically, if we're training for level 1 certification, something like jumping rope might be a good way to train plyometrically for your muscles. Level 2, we're going to up the ante a little bit and maybe do some agility ladder drills, working on quick-footedness and agility and those other explosive movements. Maybe at level 3, it's something a little bit stronger, hopping up and down off of a 2-foot box or something like that. So they're all plyometric drills, but as my goals increase, right, my fitness needs to increase, or how I train for fitness. It's not to say no one's ever trained or passed a level 3 without doing box jumps, right? But you get the idea that those fitness goals have to be commensurate with your skiing goals. We're super lucky that in the Eastern Division, there's a gal by the name of Sue Kramer, who got her master's in exercise physiology and kinesiology, and she wrote a book called Be Fit to Ski. And you can buy it online. It's very scientific, it's very useful, has some great resources in it. Additionally, when our new core concepts manual comes out, there's going to be a more thorough, comprehensive chapter on both physical fitness and physical conditioning. So to wrap up what we've covered, we talked about maybe what student-centered means and what it can mean in an instructor-trainer relationship versus a student-instructor relationship. We just explored instruction versus coaching. Talked a little bit about critical thinking, about seeking and receiving feedback, ways to do some self-coaching, and then lastly, fitness considerations. But the list certainly doesn't stop there for our own professional development for long-term. It can go on and on and on, and you could certainly add to that list on your own. We're going to watch one more video. Really, we are.
I've never seen somebody so afraid to fail. I've never seen a society so afraid to fail. Pride and ego have taken the forefront of athletes' work ethic, pushing back the vulnerable mentality it takes to improve one's game. We obsess over perfection while forgetting the process of imperfection it takes to get there. Show me a player who's shooting 100% in practice, and I'll show you a player who's not taking game-like shots. Show me a player who doesn't lose the ball, and I'll show you a player who isn't going hard enough. Show me a player who doesn't make mistakes, and I'll show you a player who's not getting better. It's funny because the other day, a player came up to me and said, "Hey Trey, how many free throws did you miss?" I said, 14. What about you? He said with a smirk on his face, 0. I said, well, how many did you shoot? He said 15. I said, I shot 100, fail harder. I challenge every hooper who steps foot on that court, fail harder. Don't worry about what your coach may think, don't worry about your friends judging you, nobody. Any coach who bashes you for taking a risk and making a mistake, he's no longer a coach, he's a critic. Any friend who judges you for your mistakes in practice aren't your friends anyway. While they're busy critiquing, let's get better. Let's see who really has the last laugh. Tell them to enjoy their time now, because our time is coming. All we did was take the long way, the right way. Fail harder now, so you can succeed easier later.
So gang, I'm gonna leave it at that and close it at that. Again, in considering how we interact with our students and how we can be great teachers for them, if we could first think about how we learn, think about our development and our responsibility in it, I think we're gonna go a really long way for that. And I wish you the best turns of your minds, or best turns of your lives this summer in your minds. Thanks so much.